Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Buddy.
Happy Devils Sunday! I think Short Sky may have some technical difficulties, but I didn't screw up the intro, Beer Baron. I don't think I did.
No, it sounded pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? I think I may have woken up the neighbor, though, downstairs.
Oh, you know
really
what?
Bad.
They need to be woken up.
Sam, I
They
totally
need to be
missed
woken up. I'm sorry, Short Sky.
Anywho.
What's up?
I totally missed that intro. That was my fault.
What happened? Okay.
I
You want me to repeat
little bit
that?
of a little bit of a headphone mistake. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, that tends to happen.
Yeah, I deserve that for that. Oh well.
Well, this is season 1, episode 30. It's a Martin Brodeur 30.
It is.
Today.
We should do something Marty related, huh?
We should.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe I should next
I'll
season,
Scorpion save the mic.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the podcast, I'll Scorpion
So-
save the mic.
we didn't have like pre-production meeting, but the title of actually we never have pre-production meetings. The post show.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
live life.
Yeah, we do more
Well,
post-production than pre-production.
Yeah, the listeners, you know what? We should do a pay-per-view. You should. The conversation after the show, after we end, is actually better than the content in itself. And we're going to charge
absolutely.
1995's Let's Go Devils Podcast XL. 18 years
Well-
or older. Da-da-da-da-da.
Slap that big FBI warning on the front.
Yeah. Explicit lyrics, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say, I was gonna say, just for everybody out there that's watching or listening or whatever, if you haven't gone and checked us out on Instagram, we have some pretty big names checking us out. So Patty Aliash gave us a like, and he's following us now, and the Devils and a bunch of the players. So it's kind of cool. We're getting the recognition that we're giving the love to them. They're giving it right back.
Yeah, that's been pretty big recently. That's that's what you want. You want those followers, especially those big names like Eliash. I mean, we were all excited when you told us that earlier today.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, right.
I can pull back the curtain a little bit. Reading the tweets or reading your Instagram and stuff like that. Like most people that have kids and stuff like that, there's really one sanctity in the house that you find time to do your reading. So dropping a deuce, and I was like, oh damn! I'm like, Patty Elias, this is sweet. So
that's really letting the curtain back.
Yeah,
and the New Jersey Devils actually liked something on Instagram.
They liked every single one of our posts so far, which is pretty cool because they came in a little late, and then all of a sudden I kept getting notifications, and I was like, at first I'm like, because we follow so many other Devils groups and stuff like that, because we want to be all united under one red flag. I was like, oh, somebody just hijacked the name, and they probably put a period somewhere or an underscore somewhere. Yeah. And then I was like, oh no, they got the blue check mark, so that's legit. That's pretty legit.
I wonder if Taylor Hall, the fake Taylor Hall account that I follow on Facebook, that I'm friends with on his personal page, I wonder if he's watching the podcast right now. Because if you are, you're the
MVP
subject matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
MVP.
Hart for Hall. I mean, that's one of our main topics today on season 1, episode 30. Also, the Devils this past week cleaned out their lockers. A lot of speculation. The Devils. I saw a couple articles out there that Ray Shero is allowed to spend all the way to the ceiling. Not he's not making it to the floor, the cap floor. He's allowed. He's got the credit card ready to go to some bidding wars. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But also last week's response after that loss, Game 5, we had a lot of people commenting in the Facebook Live and on Twitter, Periscope, and even YouTube Live. You can also find us on letsgodevils.com, our podcast page. Download our podcast on iTunes. We are on iHeartRadio, the iHeartRadio app. I mean, not many podcasts can say that. Not many podcasts can actually say that we have a lot of comments, because we are the most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts. Anyway, enough of the plugging. Let's go to the Hall for Hart debate. He was named the finalist. 3 finalists. I didn't care the other 2 that were named finalists, to be honest.
Anze Kopitar and Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which McKinnon, you can give a good argument for McKinnon. Kopitar, I don't know, but McKinnon, you can give a good argument for it. But Hall, I don't know about you, Shorts guy, but if you look at the numbers, strictly the numbers, I think he was about 40 plus points ahead of Nico Hischier, who is the second leading scorer on the team. The dude, even watching every single game, he carried that team for a bulk of the season. That team for a bulk of the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make the argument for McKinnon, but Hall is the reason why the Devils he almost willed them all the way to the playoffs. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of help all over the place, but you got to say that Taylor Hall is the reason why we got where we did.
Oh, I agree. And there's games where he's putting up multiple points, and there's games where even if he wasn't scoring a goal, I mean, let's not forget he had a 26 game goal streak. There was games even when he wasn't scoring that just his presence on the ice is creating opportunity. And I think there should be more than just his production on the ice. There should also be a look at the character of the person when it goes into selecting them, an MVP or something like that. And he's the full package. He's got everything going on right now. And I have to say, would I be shocked if he doesn't win it? No, just because it's the NHL, and he's a Devil. But do I think he deserves it more than the other 2 candidates? And this is trying not to be biased, but yeah, I definitely do. I feel like if he's not on this team, they're nowhere near the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, he's my vote. I mean, not that my opinion counts, but yeah, he's the guy that I would vote for it. I mean, just from watching him all season long, he's just there. There's not a lot you can say more about him than he just is the heart of this team, which is why he should get the Hart Trophy.
And just look at, yeah, exactly. And I mean, just look at the Devils aren't stacked like some of these other teams. And I know there for a while they were talking about Kucherov or Malkin being in the running for the Hart Trophy, and you just look at the talent that's around him. Like I said, Colorado with McKinnon, you could give an argument for him because I think he scored over 100 points this season. And Kopitar had probably his best season in a very, very long time. And he's one hell of a two-way player, and he's just a well-rounded player. But he's also got a lot of pieces around him that I think would probably fare better than the Devils or what Hall has around him. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's pretty simple that you and I are both in lockstep that he would get our vote if we had the opportunity. He would get our vote.
Yeah. Well, it's also us. I guess you can say we're a little homerish too, because he's the reason why we did so well this year. He is, he had that. I mean, just the streak alone was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which, towards the end of that streak, though, you could tell it was starting to wear on him. It seemed he was, I don't know. It seemed like he had to score to keep it going instead of playing, naturally. So it was almost good when it ended.
Yeah.
But just to go on that type of streak to begin with, that just means you're consistently producing for your team.
Yeah.
On the score sheet. I mean, there's also so much more to the game where you may not make the score sheet, but you cause a turnover which leads to a goal, or you prevent a breakaway. It's something defensive. It's there's a lot more to it, but he was definitely on that score sheet more often than not, and easily our best player overall.
Oh yeah, and I mean, look at what he did for the development of Nico Hischier. If Hischier is paired up on any other line, I don't think he has the production. You could tell that he was a great transition for the kid to come into the team. Being a former number 1 overall pick, having that experience, doing stuff like that. Our buddy Douglas here he said I'm a homer, and he is the MVP. So at least. Some of us, we're all homers here. We wouldn't be watching or doing this if we weren't. But
oh, totally.
But yeah, he just means so much more to the team than just a scoring machine.
Yeah, no, and because every time they asked him a question, it was whatever the question was, even if it was about him personally, as far as his play, the answer was always team first, team first, no matter what, which is great. And that's what you want out of a guy like Taylor Hall that's going to be leading your team. And I think the Devils have found a true leader going forward for as long as he wants to remain a Devil. I think they have found their next, dare I say it, Steven-esque captain. Once Andy Green is either A, not going to be the captain, or B, is no longer on the team. So,
yeah, and that's something that I don't think they would take the captaincy away from him, and it's not to slight Andy Green in any kind of way. But you just nailed it on the head. How much longer is he going to be on the team or with the team? Mm-hmm. You see what kind of leader that Taylor Hall is going to be, and by every indication that that the owners and the GM have said. They want to keep him for a very long time. The owners going out and saying during Patty Alayash's retirement, saying like, oh, well, we can envision seeing number 9 up in the rafters too. So, which is also another thing that's amazing to hear from your owners, that they're that invested in the team and that invested in your key player, your star player. And to answer Todd's question, in the Facebook group, I'm not 100% sure about the stat. He brings up a great point that baseball has the WAR stat, which basically proves how important you are as an individual to each team's winning. So I'm not 100% sure if they have a specific one. And Douglas, thank you for keeping us posted on the the Nashville game. 4-3 Nashville right now.
Oh, great. Well, no, not really. You know what? And I actually want Winnipeg in that series. I don't know why I said great. I would like to see Winnipeg go. Their atmosphere seems wild.
Yeah. I think both do. Dude,
Well,
the Tennessee Titans offensive line are just going out crushing beers and throwing gigantic catfish around. They did it last year too, but they're doing it again this year. And I don't know.
I got to say this though. So far, and even with the Devils included in this mix, there has been no better pregame or just psych up, whatever you want to call it, than Vegas. I actually meant to post it to the group. Watching that, the start of round 2, what Vegas did, it kind of looks a little hokey. I will give him that. It essentially looks like medieval times in the beginning.
Oh, I saw that.
But it just watching that, it's like, wow, this is so cool. You know, they have it right. I mean, it's Las Vegas, Nevada. You would hope that they would, be able to put on a show. They should. And they definitely come through with it.
I got to say, though, if they make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final and if they win the Stanley Cup final, I would have to double check because I'm pretty sure they would be the first sports franchise to ever win a championship in their first year of existence. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, we got to think about that one.
Because I'm thinking in all 4 major sports, but at the same time, how many conspiracy theorists are going to be coming out of the woodwork like, oh, Bettman set this up because he needed the Vegas thing to work, and if it didn't work, and blah, blah, and I see Sam popping up on the screen, so he's got to believe what I'm saying.
Wow, Sam just took over the entire screen.
See, that's the advantage of being the executive producer of the Let's Go Devils podcast, because I get to cut in and give you my theory on all this.
What's your theory, Sam?
Well, I have the Stats Bureau that is texting me right now that in all 4 major sports, NHL, MLB, NFL, and what's the other one? NBA. In the first year of the league existence, there were teams that won the championship in their respective league in their first year. That's an amazing stat.
So they would be.
Yeah. So this is kind of like.
Let me get back to you guys.
Oh, hey, there we are again.
Good thing I was scratching my butt for a minute. All right, so I'm not really, just kidding. So if that happens, I think that'd be amazing. But I agree with you. Like, they have everything perfect. Like, the atmosphere is cool. Like, everything is great. I think Nashville's they did it right last year. They're doing it right again this year. I think it's awesome that they brought like a little Cessna plane out in front of the stadium to crush instead of a car, which I think is pretty cool. The Jets with that whiteout, that atmosphere, you're 100% right, though, is so crazy.
Yeah, they do that one well. They absolutely do that one well. Man, it's just playoff hockey. There's just nothing like it, and the atmosphere has been great. It would be phenomenal if this was the atmosphere for every single home game, but you can't have it all. You know what though? It's playoff hockey. It's playoff hockey. That's all I got to say about that, because playoff hockey is like nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, every playoff series has its own kind of like electricity and just a different kind of environment. Like, football's great because one and done, but with hockey, it's just like the on the ice and off the ice. I mean, off the ice it's amazing, but on the ice it's like they play at such a different level. You come to find at the end of the year this year, both Zaka and Hischier, who played all 82 games, actually played all 87 games for the Devils this year, had an injury to his hand for a good majority of the season. Yeah, and he still played.
He still played, and he still played. You would never have known that he had this injury at all. And you're learning about all these. Even Hischier had that, and I was listening to the radio the other day. Matthews had a chronic back injury too. That threw him off.
That's like what happened to Kobe.
Yeah, well, yeah. But to hear that Heischer had that injury, that was I don't want to say mind blowing, but that was a surprise because you would never see. There was never drop in his play. There was never. I don't know. It was. He held it very. He hit it very well. He hit it very well through the entire season.
Yes, he did. He definitely did. It's funny because part of me is like, all these guys play with injuries and all of them do battle through a lot of this stuff. There's stories of guys playing with broken foot, and getting a screw in the middle of the series and going out and playing
Sundin.
with
that was Matt Sundin had his ankle bolted together. That was awesome.
Like, crazy, right? But at the same time, I don't know. It's just guys go out there and they put everything on the line. And even if they've won it like a few times, you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're going out there, they're still playing like they haven't won it before. And
oh yeah,
I mean, that series is tied up 1-1. I still think Washington's going to come out of that series. I know we're kind of like dancing all over the place, but I mean,
oh yeah, this is one of the most. Yeah, well, I feel like this is going to be the par for the course for the rest of the summer. We're just going to go from place to place to place. When it topic to topic, I should say.
There's no smooth transitions.
No, there are no smooth transitions. That's what happens when you get when you let regular non-professionals run a show like this.
Yeah, right. Like we say, it's just like a couple of dudes just sitting around talking, and usually that's how real conversations go. Especially if you're from New Jersey. Apparently, we're super rude. It's so funny because you find out from people from other states, and they're like, "Do you guys ever not talk over each other and not interrupt each other and not shut up?" And we're like, "Nah, it's pretty much how it is."
It's just how it goes.
It's like you better start talking, otherwise you're not going to get your point in.
Oh, exactly. Speaking of that, it looks like someone's trying to butt his way into here now. I see Sam show up again.
Remember me?
Yeah.
Remember me?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you.
There was a text message, a group text message of New York Post. You want to read that quote? I think I have.
I have it.
You have that? Yeah. Who was the writer?
Oh. Yeah, let me find that really quick. Let me find that. Yeah. Okay. So the writer's name, this comes from the New York Post. The writer's name was Phil Mushnick. And the quote goes as follows. Let's see. The next time the Devils make the playoffs, Prudential Center management should either ban kids from attending or insist those group entitled champs who chant unprintable vulgarities at the opposition cut it out or be thrown out.
So what, we can't say you suck?
Oh man, I don't know. People are against that.
Dude, it's so people are too sensitive. Do you remember back in the day if you
What's up, Sam?
Blast them on.
Here we are talking over each other, just like we're talking about. We are the stereotypical Jersey guys here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he kind of looks like Stan Fischler in a way.
Oh,
yeah,
so
there was another comment about that, but we can't say that.
Yeah, Douglas, and Robert, all the guys always chiming in. Thank you, gentlemen. But Douglas brings up a good point. Have you ever heard of Nashville's crowd? Dude, they're brutal.
Oh, and that's great. And that's what you want. That's home ice advantage. That's home ice, home field, home whatever you want to call it, advantage. When a player knows that when they slip up at your building, it's going to be just brutal against you. There's going to be no mercy for the crowd, and it's going to be hell for the rest of your evening or for the rest of your series. That's going to be in that building.
Dude, if I want to sit on my hands with a bunch of other corporate people, I'll go to a Rangers game. All right, I'm not going to not yell and scream and root on my team. And if he thinks that's bad, go into the Bronx, go to a Yankees game, sit in the bleachers, go to a Giants game when they're playing the Eagles or the Cowboys, go to a Jets games, when the Patriots come to town. What kind of little land are you living in that you need to have everything so PC around you that you have to have your little bubble that nobody can say anything that's merely offensive? I mean, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. You should be screaming obscenities in front of children or dropping F-bombs when there's like a 2-year-old hanging out with you. But at the same time, if we want to chant "you suck" or like, chant a goalie's name over and over and over again until he cries, that's our prerogative, man. That's what
Yeah.
we're meant to do as fans.
That's home ice advantage right there. As long as it's not crossing the line and going, beyond which there he is. Thanks, Sam.
What a
Now
sad,
he's-
sensitive soul. What a sensitive soul. Ugh.
Whatever.
Who,
You know what?
who does a headshot like that? Come on. Get my Santa Claus look, guys.
Whatever. I'll take.
All right, yeah,
Actually, for game one, there was a guy sitting in our section in 208 that none of us had ever seen before, and he was just floored by hanging out with us and was like, "You guys here all the time?" We're like, "Yeah, we're here all the time." And he's like, "I gotta get tickets here now. I gotta get more tickets here." We're like, "Yeah, come on, man. You're more than welcome."
Yeah.
So people
Yeah.
are for it.
I agree. It's I don't know. I don't want to keep going on this subject because
Yeah, I
it's
was just gonna
part
say
of,
let's move
what-
on.
we'll move on because
Move
part
on.
of that really upsets me. But on the other side, like I get having kids, like I get it in a sense. So whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna move on. Back to
Back to
Go ahead.
Devils hockey. Should we discuss this week's injury report or no?
yeah, sure.
Hold on, Sam.
Hold on.
All right, let's
I
do
wasn't prepared for that. That's what happens when you don't have. That's what happens when you don't have pre-production meetings. All right. So I'll let me see if I could do this. Hold on a sec. I just got to make sure the levels are good. Let's see
Here comes
Okay.
the Devils injury report. Hopefully. All right, Sam, you can cut the music. All right, so the injury report is there were no injuries in Devils hockey today because no one's playing.
Oh wait, well, that's not necessarily true because there are a bunch of them that are heading overseas and getting ready for the
That's true.
World Championship. So
That's true.
something
So
else
no-
that we should. Let's hope nobody
Yeah, we
gets
should have been
injured.
more prepared to talk about who's going overseas. I know Keith Kincaid is going.
Blake Coleman, Brian Gibbons,
Coleman is. Yep. Who else?
Will Butcher, and Keith Kincaid. So we have a really good showing of some boys from the good old U.S. going over to the for the men's national team for the IIHF Men's World Championship. So that starts May 4th to May 20th. There's another Jersey boy, Johnny Gaudreau, is going to be there. So nice. It's a good showing. Patty Kane's going to be playing. I'll give you the whole list. So the forwards are
All right.
Atkinson, Coleman, Gaudreau, Gibbons, Kane. That's Patrick Kane.
Yep.
Chris Kreider, Derek Ryan, Tage Thompson. Never heard of that guy.
Probably an AHL guy.
Colin White, Sonny Milano, Anders
Wait,
Lee, and
Not
Dylan
former
Larkin.
Devil Colin White.
No. He was from Saskatchewan, if all memory serves me right. And then the defense is Will Butcher, Quinn Hughes, Nick Jensen, Alec Martinez, Neil Paunik, Jordan Draisaitl, and does that seem right? Yeah, Drew. And Connor Murphy. The goalies are Scott Darling, Charlie Lindbergh, and Keith Kincaid.
Cool. If my first thought with these guys going over, first of all, I love it that they're going to represent Team USA in an international tournament. I don't think there's enough of that in hockey. Also, it's going to give them great experience, Keith Kincaid especially, in games that are not only meaningful but are, short, one and done. If they make it into, going past the first round robin. I'm assuming it's a round robin setup, and then one game, one and done, or move on or whatever. And that pressure is going to be there, which is what you want. I mean, as long as he gets to play, I just hope he goes and plays as well. But any of that type of international experience where you have that pressure on you, I think is phenomenal. So I'm all for these guys going.
Yeah, and Miko Mueller is actually playing
Switzerland, right?
For Switzerland, yeah. And I assume that if Heischer wasn't hurt, he would probably be playing for Switzerland as well. But
absolutely.
It's nice. I have to see if there's any other Devils that are representing any other teams. I know Taylor Hall declined, and there's a few other guys that declined, but it'll be interesting. I know this is once again jumping subjects and going off tangent, but I've been trying to look into it, and I haven't seen anything. Have you heard anything from the New York Islanders and John Tavares?
No, nothing.
Isn't that so bizarre? You would think that the face of your franchise, since he came in as a number 1 overall pick, do you think he would be season's over? Boom, let's get this done. Let's lock it up. Like that makes no sense to me.
You would hope that, but then there's the old phrase, "No news is good news." So maybe it's something that they're just waiting to announce later on.
I don't know. I figured that would be something that they would want to unless he told them straight up, nah, I want to hear what other teams like Steven Stamkos. If you remember, a couple of years ago, was he went back to Tampa Bay, obviously, but he listened to other offers. Like he made it to July 1st and was like, yeah, you know what? I just want to hear what else is going on. And then he realized he could make a boatload of money and not have any taxes taken out. So he stayed in Tampa. But
and there's nothing, it's I don't think there's anything wrong with a player going out there and seeing what they're worth.
I agree with that.
Just to have a good value on themselves, because it's probably weird for people like us who have to work for a living. Themselves are their value. Their body, their skills, that's their value. And it's kind of hard to put a dollar value onto that if you don't know exactly what it is on the open market.
Which is pretty crazy, because that brings up something that happened a couple years ago with there's a running back that played in the NFL, Adrian Foster, and he wanted to, I think it was sell stock of himself or something like that. And you'd have to look into the story to get the whole details, because I don't remember everything off the top of my head. But essentially he was saying exactly what you were saying. My body is the reason why I get paid. So, if other people want to invest into it, then that's fine. It was just a weird, crazy story. And people were like, that's so weird. And then everybody's like, oh, kind of starting to make more sense. The deeper you dig into it.
Yeah, I just wonder how you would figure out how you would get a return on that investment. If he signs $100 million deal, are you entitled to a percentage value based on how much stock you own?
You get a free hat and an autographed 5x6 glossy, an off-squared glossy.
Yeah, right. Something he printed out of Walmart that just doesn't look right. It's got the white.
Yeah.
It's got the strips of white down the sides because he just can't figure it out.
No, they must have been out of blue, because that was really off.
No, cyan. Isn't that cyan? It's not blue.
Yeah. What is this? It's funny because, once again, Douglas, chiming in, man. Thanks for doing so. John Tavares also needs to not strap a team's cap space if he wants to win. I mean, that's true to an extent. I mean, I forget if Sam, if you're listening right now, wherever you are, the ghost of Sam Wu, do you know exactly how much the cap went up? Did they announce those numbers? Or if anybody out there in the land of
if anyone out there knows, I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Because I'd be super interested.
I haven't missed it.
Yeah, it'd be super interesting to see what the exact.
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, there he is. Getting bumped out again.
Hello there. I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh. What a strange sounding ghost, just to tell us he doesn't know.
this summer is going to be really stupid on this show. I just hope, you know what, the entertainment value of this show alone will be worth the tune in every Sunday night. The information might not all be there. The information might not all be correct, but the entertainment value.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the year, we kind of like checked out too. You know what I mean? Like, there's a point where our brains kind of like go into off season a little bit too. But yeah, no, this is going to be an interesting summer. Just see if Sam's right and those articles are correct that Shiro was given the green light to spend all the way up to the ceiling. I kind of hope he doesn't. But at the same time, does that mean that the Devils are going to target a John Tavares? Are they going to try to make the trade to Ottawa and lock up, Erik Karlsson and then get him a long-term extension? Who knows what that green light means?
I would prefer them to spend and plug the holes where necessary. I forget who posted it in the group because I can't find the comment, but someone said, "Don't spend like a drunken Rangers GM." That's true. I'm sorry, whoever posted that. I apologize. I've since lost that post, but that's true. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go all the way to the ceiling because then you're handcuffed for the rest of the season or possibly two. I think you got to be smart, and you have to be willing to spend money as well, but don't overspend. It was Douglas that said that. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you much. You have to be willing to spend, but you don't want to overspend, and know when to walk away from a deal, I guess is what I want to say too. Know when to walk away from something that's just going to be too much and handcuff your team.
So you're saying that Kovalchuk, who's come back and going to be meeting with a bunch of NHL teams supposedly this coming week. So you're saying that if he puts himself out there and he says, "I'll join the team for 5.5 a year for 3 years," do you pull the trigger on that, or do you say, "Thanks for your services, but your jersey has been given to Patrick Maroon"? I'm being serious too. Like if he,
I know, and I'm trying to come up with an answer. The way he looked in the Olympics, I would say yes, but where do you fit him in?
Like I said,
guys, I'll make it really simple.
What do you got, Sam?
When you got the Benjamins, you could do a lot with it. You don't need to necessarily spend the money. You just need to drive up the price. That's all you have to do is drive up the price, because I'm going to warn you guys, and I'm going to warn the Devils fans out on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube Live, and on letsgodevils.com that the Flyers are in great position to get some of these players like Tavares and Karlsson. And they have a lot of money as well. And they've got a lot of prospects. So it should be interesting to see how Hextall versus Shiro go down this offseason. And it should be interesting to see if Tavares actually stays on Long Island, if he's loyal there, or he goes elsewhere. So I would seriously, it doesn't matter who it is, even Kovalchuk. If somebody says 5.5, it's kind of like on eBay when you're doing a bidding war on that Devils memorabilia. You just go up a penny. Just be a nuisance till you drive up Kovalchuk to $7.5 million a year. Then you say, okay, the hell with you. Go enjoy your
That's a great way to screw your opponents too.
Yeah, and I mean, like somebody was just saying, like, why would Kobe even come back to the Devils? Because he's such in my opinion, he would look at the situations if he wanted to stay in the East Coast in the New York area, right? So what team is on an incline, which team is on a decline, which team is rebuilding, and which team is really close to getting him to where he wants to be, which is winning a Stanley Cup. You would think if he was a logical person, which he's not, he's shown he's not. If he was a logical person, he would say New Jersey because of the way that the team is trending. Everything is going up. He would fit in. He would fit in like this. He would fit in as just scoring help. he wouldn't have to log the crazy 25 minutes per game that he did when he was here last time. He wouldn't have to carry the bulk of the load. He wouldn't have to be, half the player that he was when he was here. So if he wanted to, it would make sense. Do we want him back at 35 years old and, coming over from the KHL where, he looks good, but he's also playing against, not.
Yeah, he's playing in the KHL.
Yeah, exactly. And even the Olympics aren't a good gauge because the Olympics, you didn't have Canada's best. You didn't have the U.S.'s best. You didn't have a lot of the NHL players that were out there. So he had he was playing against a bunch of amateurs. Do you know what I mean? Like, he couldn't look that good in that.
At the same time, though, no matter what goalie was going to be in there, some of those shots that he had and some of those goals he scored, no one was stopping him. Whether it was, Canada's best, America's best, whatever. I thought he looked good still. Whether or not I want him back, that's something I don't know. It's like taking back an old girlfriend. It's either going to work or it's not. It's either going to work or it's not.
It's like taking her back after seeing who she's been with.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yet to be seen. It's if he can come at a good deal and he can fill a hole and fill a gap for us, I don't mind it. If he's going to come at a cost and just be dead weight, then no way, not a chance.
Yeah, so, if he comes, but I mean, also we're saying if he comes back, and we know, I would put money against the fact that I'd put money on the fact that he's not going to want to be back in New Jersey. And I don't know if we necessarily all want him back in New Jersey. I just don't want to see him go across the river. I don't know if he will go to the Rangers, but that might be a player that the Flyers could pick up. You know what I mean? Like that's to have to deal with him in our division, I think would just be such a slap to the face. I don't know.
Because he would do well against us. It's just what would happen. It's exactly what would happen. He would do very well against us. So I don't know. I would take him. I would take him if it was a deal.
Joe Stinson said, "Beware if Lou goes to the island. Tavares takes a good. Tavares stays good. Young kids, 2 high picks, maybe Covey, and a D free agent. It's a lot of pieces that could fall into place for the island, but they would need a lot of things to fall in place.
Can you read that one again?
He said, "Beware if Lou goes to the island." Which I didn't know if Lamoriello was looking to leave Toronto.
I think the door was open. I don't know if it's, right? Yeah, I don't know if Lou had a year coming up or if they were still in talks if he was going to come back for next season. But yeah, he's not guaranteed there in Toronto. But it almost sounded like they were just going to wait, the first couple, days after the playoffs and reassess and go from there too. So
he's also getting up there in age, so that would also be dependent on how he wants to fulfill the rest of his career. If I were him, I would stick around Toronto because you have such a good thing going on up there with a young team that that's another team that's trending in the right direction. They might need, they need a couple more pieces here and there. But the amount of talent that they have on the team is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know.
No matter what kind of project he would want, if, like you said, stick in Toronto where they're trending in the correct direction, or do you go to another project and have to put out a fire before you can even start?
Yeah, and as for Tavares, like everybody's like, oh, he has to be loyal. He has to be loyal. He has to be loyal. He doesn't have to do anything. He can do whatever he wants. I know there was a lot of talk about him wanting to possibly go to Toronto or play for a Canadian team. I know there was talk about him not necessarily being too excited about the situation in Long Island with, having to play at the Barclays Center, and pretty much like a lot of the players have been absolutely disgusted with having to play there. And then they're going to have to split the season. I believe next year is going to be split in the old Coliseum and the Barclays Center. So that's going to be a pain in the ass, Yeah.
Just logistically, it sounds like a disaster. I mean, think about all the they're either going to have. I mean, I already know that they already have all the gear that they could want. but they're going to have either the locker room set up in both places with gear set up in both places, or the team's going to have to truck their gear back and forth, which I guess is really not much different than, getting it back to and from a practice facility. But that's just adding a third facility you have to have prepared, completely stocked. It just seems like it's just going to be a logistical disaster to be in two places at once. Nothing, and I'm sure the players are not going to look forward to it. It's I don't blame them for not looking forward to it. How do you build atmosphere in a building when you're in this one building today and another quote unquote home building tomorrow? It's it's going to be, and then for the fans, it's going to be a disaster too. Although I'm sure for a lot of the Islander fans, they're probably very happy to be back in the old building and not the Barclays Center. But still, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, and Joe has made a lot of very nice, valid points on here. He said Lou is not going to block the future GM. Plus, his son is already assistant GM of the Isles. So, I mean, that's a very, very valid point, very solid point. And then Todd, thank you very much for pointing this out. So, if the cap stays at $75 million, which somebody else was saying that it's going up a percentage, I think 8.2. Robert said 8.2% is going up, which I'm not going to say I'm a math major by any means. So even if it stayed at $75 million, they have 32 under contract right now, totaling $55 million. That gives them $20 million of cap space. That is a lot of money. And I wonder if that is, if that's including taking Ryan Clough off of the books, which he's going to be finally coming off the books, and just being paid as a coach, I suppose. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of wiggle room. But you got to think about the future too. You don't want to go out and blow your cap space on some nice shiny new things, and then have a couple guys coming up in the future where you're like, well, now we don't have money for Taylor Hall. Now we don't have money for this guy and that guy. So, but I think Riccio is smart about this.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that from what we've seen this season, Shiro seems to have an eye for players who are going to fit into the team and what to pay them, and personalities that he wants on this team. So I don't see him spending like a drunken Rangers GM. I see him spending very smartly and possibly making some really good crafty trades too. And who's to say that they can't work or rework current contracts to bring them down a little bit. So there's also those options, and we also have to think about not only locking up Hall, but locking up Heischer long term too, because you don't want him to go either.
Well, you have his rookie contract for a couple of years that you don't really have to worry about.
3. Yeah, but still though, you don't want to handcuff yourself now to the point where it's. So this is the first year. I believe it's a 3-year deal for those rookie contracts. You don't want to handcuff yourself in 2 years from now, where all of a sudden you don't have the money to keep him and you have to let him go or you have to trade him.
Yeah, and that's where living in a salary cap era it's tough, because you have to navigate so much, but it's also why there's teams like Vegas, Winnipeg, and Nashville in the Stanley Cup final, in the Stanley Cup final, in the playoffs right now.
Not yet.
So,
semifinals.
Well,
semifinals.
Exactly. But I mean, but to my point is that, if a lot of people complained when the cap was, instituted in the NHL, but really what it did was it created a lot of competitive balance, because you don't have teams going out there that are in the bigger markets like Chicago and New York that can spend beyond their means to get overpriced talent, Rangers, and not do anything with it. So, what this does is it gives the teams, like a Winnipeg, like a Nashville, to a lesser extent, even like Arizona, even though they can't get out of their own way, it gives every single team an opportunity to be just as good and to make their way into the playoffs.
There's parity around the league, and that's what you want. You want that 100%. Parity. To me, that gives you a healthy league to where any given team can win any given year, and that's my biggest gripe with soccer around the world is that a lot of the big leagues, it's pretty much who's going to win year in, year out, and it's very rare that someone who's not in that top 4 and has anywhere near chance of winning. because they're allowed to spend beyond their means, astronomical prices.
Oh, which is crazy in soccer, yeah.
Oh, it's unreal. But because of that, all the leagues you can tell in August when the leagues start who's probably going to win and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Which with the NHL and the salary cap, as much as people dislike it, it's also there to keep the teams in to survive, because some markets like Florida, for example, I mean they're lucky they have 15 people in their building some nights.
Even during the playoffs. I mean, not so much Tampa. It's more so, the Panthers. But I mean, then there's like Arizona, yeah. But and there's people that complain about, oh well, this one of the biggest gripes about the NHL right now is the TV side of it. If Winnipeg and Tampa Bay are in the Stanley Cup Finals, they're like, oh, nobody's going to watch that, which I think is garbage. I think there's a garbage statement, and it drives me absolutely crazy to listen to the radio sometimes. And we've talked about this a million times. You see these guys are, if it's a series like that, nobody's going to watch. It has to be Boston has to get all the way through, or
Yeah.
But I don't agree.
No, I disagree as well.
First of all, hockey fans are going to watch regardless. Like the Devils are out, but I'm still watching. The Stanley Cup playoffs just as intently as if I were watching it if the Devils were in. So, and I'm pretty sure most fans are like that.
Because they're not talking about hockey fans in a statement like that. They're talking about, the regular casual person that might turn it on because it's the playoffs, and that's what they're trying to talk about. But, really, if they're only going to turn it on for a game, then are they really a valid customer?
And to a man, anybody that turns on the playoffs and just flips on a hockey game during the Stanley Cup Finals or during the Stanley Cup playoffs sits there and will watch it because it's that engaging, it's that exciting, it's that intense.
Oh, I agree.
I have plenty of friends that don't like or don't watch hockey, that if you put on a playoff game in front of them, they'll sit down and they'll watch the entire game with you.
Yeah, tell me how you could not be just beyond pumped to watch a Winnipeg game after seeing that whiteout,
dude.
Or watching the Vegas Sharks series after seeing the intro that Vegas does. And even those games, they've been so high paced, they've been high scoring.
Like 7-0 in that first game of the.
They've been nothing against the Sharks, and then it ends. What was it, 4-3? Or it was. Oh, geez, Sam, what do you want?
Continue, but why don't you finish what I have to get something off my chest, but continue.
That's fine. No, I was just saying it's been. I think that this year's playoffs have been so incredibly high scoring. I don't remember seeing this much scoring in a playoff year ever.
Yeah,
having
and
games going north of 5 for not in total, but for one team having more than 5 multiple times. And then think back to that Penguin Flyer game that it finished like 8-5 or something like that.
Yeah, 8-5, which is crazy.
That's insane.
That's I guess not stereotypical playoff hockey is like 2-1, 1-0,
2-1. Yeah. Which I have other issues with, with goaltending and everything if it's going to be 5-8. But I don't know. Sam, what do you got?
He realizes his microphone's off, right?
Oh, I hope so. Sam, page.
Either that, or he's trying to see how good we are at reading lips.
I can't even see him on my screen, so I'm totally missing out on it.
Oh.
Huh. Oh, hey!
Look
who decided to show up.
So I've been driving a lot the past week, and I've been listening to a certain radio station in New York that I don't want to name names just because I sort of have a relationship with them, but somebody big is coming back on the station.
Yeah, garbage.
Anyway, continue.
What I can't stand this weekend, and they do this like 2-minute update report, and they're like the Giants selected Saquon Barkley in the first round. Jets Jets, they're going through it really fast. I just said Jets got Sam Darnold, da 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 da, and then in hockey, do they use ping pong balls? I have no idea. Like it's always trashing hockey
Yeah.
whenever these guys get, except for Boomer, but Boomer doesn't. I'm not so. He claims he loves. Oh wait, I should have mentioned his name, but that guy claims that he's a hockey fan, but I think he more likes to watch the Rangers than hockey itself.
No, I disagree. I listen to them every morning, and he is an avid supporter of.
He plays
hockey.
too. And
he
plays
He's
as well.
all about it. He actually, if you didn't know he was a football, like a former quarterback in the NFL, you would say that he was a former hockey player, just because.
Yeah, but I don't know though, because lately I think it's a little disingenuous. That's just my.
You know what though,
Well, he's a Ranger fan. What do you expect?
Yeah, but I mean, my gripe isn't necessarily. My gripe is not necessarily specifically for the station, although I agree that the coverage of hockey or lack thereof, considering that they're the flagship station for now 2 of the NHL teams in this area. What drives me crazy is, and yes, his daughter is marrying Matt Martin. That is very true. What drives me crazy is like the lack of coverage there, the lack of coverage on ESPN,
anywhere,
which happened right after. This could be another 2 hours that we could be on here. After Gary Bettman basically torpedoed the deal with ESPN because ESPN was trying to lowball the NHL. So at first, the NHL or ESPN made it seem like it was all of the NHL's fault, that Gary Bettman was just being too money hungry and he wanted way too much, that the ESPN could not handle it. Blah blah blah. It was all BS. ESPN basically.
No. But go on. Sorry.
I'm just saying from everything that I understand is that they basically whatever. My point is that the lack of coverage of the NHL, and like you said, like it's always an afterthought. There's always like here's a highlight of a guy slam dunking a basketball. I saw this thing on Instagram the other day on Spit and Chicklets. If you follow them, which are part of Barstool, which I will plug those guys all day. They were talking about, they were like, give me, what is the one thing that you don't like about the NBA? And they're going through everything. And they said, and the one thing that drives me crazy is on ESPN, you see that the top 10 plays is a dude going in for a slam dunk.
Awful.
It is, but it's like a dude going in for a slam dunk. They're like, you might as well show a hockey player stepping on the ice and skating 4 strides. It's like just as easy for them to slam dunk a ball as it is for a hockey player to, to skate down the ice. It's just garbage. Like there's zero respect for the league. And it pisses me off. Like it's just like the whatever. Like I said, I could talk hours about this. The PR department in the NHL needs to get their collective heads out of there. Which has been going on for way too long. The fact that they don't market the players correctly in their own areas or in the NHL at all drives me absolutely crazy. I'll drop the mic.
Don't drop it, because then Sam's got to figure it out.
Yeah. So. You know what, Beer Bear, you're probably right. I didn't mean to say you were wrong about your theory. I have the more conspiracy theory behind that whole thing. If you remember, during the lockout, 04, 05, there was no ESPN contract, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor Life Network took over. It eventually became Versus.
Yep.
Who owned that?
Comcast. Didn't Comcast own that?
Yeah, the late Ed Snyder, because they had no leverage with ESPN, so they probably said, you know what? Eventually, they were acquired by NBC Sports. Now you see NBC Sports all over the place. The NHL wanted to control the message, and the leverage was one of the team owners is a partner in that venture. That's why their transition. And I'll tell you this, I miss Gary Thorne and Bill Clement.
Oh, man, so do I.
Hell, yes.
They were playoff hockey. Yeah, we do have to get Bill on. I would like to talk to him. They were, hearing those voices were playoff hockey. Even some of the older clips I watch on like online and all that, hearing those voices in any of those games were just, it's awesome.
Mhm.
It's just that's playoff hockey. Like it's when you hear those voices, you know that it's warm out outside, and you're down to 8 teams, 16 teams, 4 teams, 2 teams, left and everything. That's all gone.
Yeah. It is. Even like when ESPN did cover hockey and you had Steve Levy, who was an awesome announcer for the NHL, a broadcaster who could step on the air and broadcast a game live. He was great. He was he was so passionate about the game too. It just annoys me to no end, especially like Sam said before, like those stupid pot shots. Like the NHL went onto the Golf Network to this year to broadcast some of the games during the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's just an extension of NBC Sports. It doesn't mean anything, right? But there's so many places that are like taking pot shots at the NHL because they got to go to the Golf Channel because it's like I can't see. My problem is I'm going to get too fired up. I'm going to say something that's going to that Sam's going to have to figure out how to bleep, and we don't have that yet.
I actually see that being on NBC Sports as a plus because they have so many more stations and outlets that they can be on.
I agree 100%.
Every single playoff game was on in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's phenomenal. You have every single playoff game on in the first round, and you really can't beat that. And there's the advantage because ESPN has what? ESPN, ESPN2, and then now ESPN Plus. So you have to watch it on. Yeah, yeah, right. So you'd have to watch it. You'd have to watch it online, which I know a lot of people are also not a big fan of.
Yeah, but then that brings up another point too, which annoys me to no end. Is can somebody please tell somebody in the NHL headquarters? Like, I understand about blacking out the games in specific areas, especially so when the games were on NBC and I couldn't watch it on the MSG Go app. If I was out and about and moving around, I would go to my NHL app and try to watch the game on my NHL app, and was told that I couldn't because it was blacked out from being on my phone. Like, that's so stupid. Like, don't they understand that like people are like moving around? You live a life. Like you can't be like glued to your living room. And I mean, we live in a generation, in an era where you can watch your games on a phone, for crying out loud. So give us that opportunity to go out and be able to do whatever we need to do and have the game right there in our pocket.
I agree.
Hey,
I agree.
Sorry, I get so fired up about all this.
It's okay. No, Douglas Walker writes, does Gary Thor do Baltimore baseball? Yes, he does. Matter of fact, I walked into Costco the other day, and sometimes they play like the MLB package near the DirecTV section or Dish Network. I forgot what it was. And I heard Gary Thor's voice, and I turned around to look for a hockey highlight, and I was so disappointed to see a Baltimore Oriole, hit a home run.
That's a big disappointment.
And these guys, Gary and Bill are not getting any younger. I'm sure there's, I guess politics involved, or, maybe they wanted to get away from the ESPN brand. But I say nonsense. If you remember CBS football, they had John Madden's Pat Summerall. Immediately they moved to Fox Sports when they got the NFL rights to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were the voices of the NHL franchise and EA Sports for the longest time too. So.
And now Doc Emmerich,
which I love Doc. I'm not gonna say anything negative about Doc,
but it's just like I would love to have my fair share of hockey announcers like Gary, like Bill, like Doc. I would even say John Forsland's very, very good. Some of these
he is very good.
But the one guy that they have to get rid of, in studio is Mike Milbury. Is Jeremy Roenick still there?
Yeah,
yes.
I like Roenick, but he's too tame. It's like a sedated version of Roenick on TV. Because if you listen, I listen to his podcast and stuff like that. Like, that's the real Jeremy Roenick. Like, the one you see on TV is like this, just because he has to tone it down, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, Mike Milbury. I mean, I don't even know who even likes the guy.
You know what? I'll take Milbury over Keith Jones any day.
Oh, good point.
I mean, aside from his affiliation, his NHL affiliation with the Flyers, he was all on board making the nets larger to increase scoring. And as soon as he did that, and I remember exactly, because there was when they were talking about increasing net size, whether it was going to be wider and taller or bulging out the sides and the top, Roberto Luongo automatically said if that happened, he's out. And Keith Jones, when he read that quote, his next thing was, well, if it was my NHL, Luongo wouldn't be in it because I would increase the net size. And I was like, yeah, forget this guy. This guy has this guy can go blow it, because I was not having that. It's like you want to make the job harder for the goalies. Thanks, yeah, you can get out of here. So ever since that moment, for me, I hate seeing that guy on TV, because that's his, if that's going to be his opinion on how to increase scoring is increase the net size and make the game harder for the goaltenders. Like you can beat it, dude.
Yeah.
Douglas Walker asked what happened to Barry Melrose.
He's still there.
Came back.
No, he's still there. And you know what? All that aside, I've always appreciated Barry Melrose, because during the whole crap during ESPN's dispute with the NHL and during the lockout, he was one of the biggest advocates for the NHL and one of the biggest advocates for hockey in general. So his moron comment of oh, you better watch your wallet when you're in Newark, he apologized for that, and he's just he was stupid for saying that. But at the same time, all things aside, he is one of the biggest cheerleaders for the NHL and for every team too. So I don't know.
Were you at the bar when he showed up after he made that comment and had to eat his words?
I don't think so. If I was, I don't remember.
Sam and I were.
It was at the arena bar. And on top of that, on YouTube, there's actually a Fox 5 with Linda Schmidt clip, and we're all in it. And I remember I dangled a wallet off of a fishing rod with Gomez pesos, and I remember we had Ranger Suck confetti, and I threw it, hoping that it would, I threw it at the ceiling, hoping that it would just disperse, because remember they were cubes.
I still have a bag. I have a baggie of that still.
We all do.
Yeah.
But but the rubber band did not disband, and I accidentally hit his bodyguard right in the head with the confetti, and they're like, "Hey!" and they're just like pointing, in the crowd. But I just kind of ducked out and left. But I should post that later on.
You should, because that was great.
Throwback.
Yeah, send that.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we should post that on the Instagram page too.
Yeah, I'll find the YouTube clip and we'll post it up a little bit later. By the way, Let's Go Devils podcast Facebook page is at 508 likes, and the Let's Go Devils group is now at 860. So we're moving. We're creeping up. We are
creeping up.
Moving on up.
This has been only our first season too. We've got more seasons ahead.
Yeah, more seasons, more live events.
Oh yeah.
More talking with all of you.
Oh yeah. more listening to two unprofessional professionals talk about hockey.
I do. During that rant, I get so upset. There's sometimes where we've had this moments on this show where I get so upset, and at the end of it, all I can think about is, how did I not just drop a giant F-bomb, or how did I not just say something that I would absolutely regret immediately?
Oh yeah, I had that moment when I was talking about Keith Jones and what he wanted to do to the Nets. Well, I kept trying to think of a word ahead I was going to say, and then just thinking what the aftermath that Sam was going to have to deal with as the producer.
Yeah, and by the way,
phone calls he was going to have to field.
If you ever see, you'll see us like look around, or like I kind of look off sometimes. Usually that's me thinking like, what word can I, insert here instead of the F or the S or the thing that I would normally say in a casual conversation.
Which I think you and I are well equipped for coming up with the words that we shouldn't use and substitutes
100%.
Because of our day-to-day jobs.
100%. Which usually is funny because I leave my job and I'll just, every other word. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's if Kovalchuk signs with the Rangers, I might have to have Sam have a drop button because I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to cut my screen altogether and do one of those temporarily out of service signs on it. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah,
That sensitive soul. Oh God.
Yeah, let's not give this guy so much publicity, but
No, that's free publicity that we don't need to be giving out.
Yeah. Who reads the paper anymore? You.
Yeah, exactly. So Douglas Walker's on fire. He has his alert set for the podcast, which is pretty good.
It's exactly what
He says,
everyone out there should do.
He goes, "Can you say
Tell your
the
friends,
F
Doug.
word? No, we can't. We don't mention the Flyers too often on the podcast, but no, seriously, we try to keep it family friendly because we cross pollinate on all ages of Devils fans across the world, and we've had people in Canada watch in,
Australia.
Australian
Yep.
Devils fan that came in. There's people all over, and we just try to keep it clean, just like how we want our players to keep it clean on the ice.
Yeah.
Guys,
We're not shock jocks by any means.
Nope. And it looks like Bobby and David have their alerts set as well, so that's great.
Heck
Everyone have their alerts. Tune in every Sunday.
Yeah, and also, I'm gonna market something on the podcast. We've never really done that. We did it kind of a joke, but we're selling T-shirts on your website, right, Shorts Guy?
That is correct. Yeah, we have.
So let me do a little plug here.
Come on down. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt. Made by Shorts Guy, designed by Beer Baron. I didn't contribute anything to this design other than registering letsgodevils.com. It's going for what, $19.95 or
no, 2003.
2003. See, we need every penny from you.
No, that was done. No, that was done specifically. That was done specifically. Well, yeah, but that's also because, one of the first real big friends of the show was Grant Marshall, and he won it with us in 2003. That's why I went with 2003 instead of 1995. Yes.
So I pinned the URL, but let's why don't we give it a plug? It's SGA Apparel.
No, SG Apparel. It's sgapparel.bigcartel.com, and you'll find the Let's Go Devils podcast shirt there, right on the first page, along with a bunch of other shirts that I sell.
Hey,
so yeah,
Sam,
it's sgapparel.bigcartel.com.
Sam, can you explain the jersey that you're wearing?
This jersey?
Yes.
Which one is it?
Oh,
the Kenny Klee jersey, Klee fence. That was back in 2006. That was back in 2006.
That year he outscored Jaromir Jagr in the playoffs by 1 goal when the Devils swept the New York Rangers. That was one of the greatest goals in the history of defensemen, other than Ken Daneyko scoring Game 1 of the 2000 Stanley Cup Finals.
Let me tell you, the reason why I appreciate that jersey so much is because you are definitely the type of guy that would buy that jersey, and that's why I have a Brian Ralston jersey. Like, it's so fun. Like, Ralston obviously a lot more well known than Klee, but Douglas Walker wants to know, when are we going to be taking phone calls? That's a question for our man Sam. Sam the man.
I don't know. Do you want to take one phone call before we leave, or do we have to go? Do we have to unplug?
Why don't we take one next? Why don't we start it on another day that we that we're not doing it at the very end of the show?
Yeah.
Why don't we test out the phone system?
We will start doing it soon again. That was a good time when we were taking those phone calls. But yeah, we'll start doing that again soon. I don't want to say next week, but just to But yes, at some point in the near future, we will start taking phone calls again.
Yeah, we'll talk about. We'll take phone calls from anybody, but just remember, keep it clean when you call, just like we do on the show. So, also, Buffalo Sabres, #1 draft pick.
Yeah,
the lottery, in which I like how they did this year. They did the first little grouping, and then they waited until the second intermission, I believe, in the Vegas game, and then they went to the winners of that. How about those Rangers not getting? I think they're picking number 7, but they have 3 first-round picks in the first round. It's a little wild.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're going to use them. They can always trade them as well.
Oh, 100%.
And I think there's something about there's something about depending on how well Tampa does, the Rangers get a better pick or something like that. I forget. One of my teammates who's a Ranger fan knows it, and he explains it every time that I ask him, and I keep forgetting. But there is something where if Tampa wins it all, the Rangers get a much better pick for that trade at the end of the season than if Tampa doesn't go all the way. So there's something with that as well. There you go. David said Rangers pick number 9. Yeah.
So it looks like Buffalo's going to be picking what is called like another generational player. Just kind of funny. Like last year, everybody was like giving Nico Hischier and Nolan Patrick Drake. They're good, but they're not generational. Blah blah blah. I really think that what we saw out of Nico this year shows that he can be a generational player. I think so. I think he has enough skill set, enough talent, enough hockey sense to just keep growing and getting better and better each year. But yeah, I saw. Oh God, I can't even. I'm not even gonna look up the name. This is what happens when the show is starting to wind down. My brain is just like, all right, we're done.
We'll have to do a show leading up to the draft and kind of outline the draft and what who we might think would go first, second, or third, or whatever, and then see where the Devils. So we'll do a draft day show or not a draft day show, but we'll do a draft preview show.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the Devils are picking 17th. So who's the last player that the Devils picked at number 17? And I think it was the 2003 NHL entry draft.
2003?
Zach Parise.
Wow. He was 17.
Zach Parise at number 17.
Damn. I thought he was
with St. Louis.
Oh well, and he's yeah, we do. We got some irons on the fire, but we gotta hear back from a couple people.
Yes, one of them possibly wore number 26.
Ooh. No, that's not me. I wore number 29. Just have to check. Just wanted to clarify. I wore number 29, so it's not me. So.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to check with number 26's agent. He also does a Facebook group somewhere. That's just an inside joke.
Damn, starting trouble.
Well, we want to thank all the listeners. Douglas Walker on fire today.
Oh yeah,
David Perlmutter. I mean, we had fans just lining up when the podcast started. That is all great. Well, Taylor Hall for Hart Trophy.
Agreed.
Spend to the cap. We talked a little.
Spend just under the cap. Spend just under the cap.
Just a little.
Just a little bit under.
Just a little. Just a tiny bit.
All right. Till next time. Let's